Can you guys hear me on the mic? Oh, there we go. It's like magic when you step on the stage. It just goes out there. How you guys doing this morning? Doing good? Awesome. Well, thanks for having me. So, as you guys can see from the video that was played earlier, I was excited to see that my cut, that was a part of that, my personal testimonial. My only issue is that the tour was awesome, but I had 3 issues. And I wanted to talk to you guys about those issues today because you guys are in the hospitality industry. And the first issue is you have to be really careful when you invite somebody like myself to an event like this, because with all the other fun titles that I have is that I'm also a foodie. And that becomes a problem when I go to buffets that are all-you-can-eat buffets, right? Because there's like 60 options. And so for me, of course, I want to try everything. So we've gotten in a situation. My issue is this. Every day, I went to these buffets and I ate everything. Everything, people. I'm talking about desserts, talking about drinks. We did the whole shebang. And that's awesome, except when you do that 5 or 6 days in a row. So we're at a point right now that I'm about 7 pounds heavier, and these pants barely fit me. So that was my first issue. My second issue with this tour was we have this thing called tech envy or equipment envy. So they put me out on this tour with the East. Where's the East at? You guys over in the corner? Woo, woo. There we go. All 2 of you guys, thank you for doing that. Woo, woo. So they put us out there, and so I came to this event. I actually forgot my camera, which is a whole other story. I have an iPhone X, so I thought I was prepared. It's got portrait mode and all the fun stuff, right? So I thought for sure I was definitely going to be prepared for this. I'm looking around everybody next to me, and I feel like a little kid that like has a toy, but you really want that toy, because they've got like drones, and they've got like all this crazy stuff, and cameras and GoPros, and I thought other than stealing the equipment when they went to bed, because that's not what you're supposed to do from what I hear, is that I thought it would probably be better if I actually made a list of all the equipment that I want to buy. So I made that list last night, and at this point, I'm up to about 10 grand in new equipment that I'll have no idea how to use. And that's not the bad part. The bad part is that $10,000 that I spend on the equipment, it's the other side. It's my wife who is going to spend $10,000 as well, because I'm going to spend $10,000, right? Because it's got to be even. So this free trip to Sri Lanka, and once again, I do appreciate it, it's probably going to cost me $20,000 by the time I get home. So, and that's fine. That's fine. I'll learn how to use the equipment now that I have the connections and everything. So that was my second issue. My third issue was a big one. And I was debating whether to even say this to you guys, but Sri Lanka has actually done the world a huge disservice and has really affected me, because now when I travel to any other country, Sri Lanka is that bar. They've set that bar for me. And so it's going to be really difficult to go to other countries and have the experience that I've had here, just because the tour was like just over the top. So I want to thank Dilip and the whole Cinnamon team. Thank you guys so much for having me here and having us on the tour. I met some great friends, really, really excited about everybody that I met. And once again, thank you guys for the opportunity. So let's talk about some influencer marketing and some e-commerce. So here I am here. I wish the screen was bigger, but anyways, I think we can do with this one. So here I am. That's me, Shane Barker. Why influencer marketing e-commerce are a perfect fit. You are in Colombo, in case you don't know that. And so who I am, so we've already kind of got the introduction. I'm going to go through this a little fast. So my daytime job is I'm a digital strategist, brand and influencer consultant, and then I specialize in influencer marketing, product launches, sales, funnels, traffic to target, all that fun stuff. I've been in the industry for about 20 years, worked with a number of Fortune 500 companies, digital products, all the fun stuff. Used to do PR stuff for celebrities in the US, which was always entertaining. And my nighttime job is I teach at UCLA. So because of the content that I put out there, it's an interesting process. UCLA actually reached out to me and said, hey, we want somebody that's a practitioner, somebody that's in the space. And so they reached out and said, hey, how would you like to do a personal branding and how to be an influencer course? And of course, personal branding influencers in Los Angeles, there's plenty of them out there that want to be influencers. So it's been a good course for me. So we talked about where I've been mentioned, New York Post, Forbes, Mexico. I did the first ever keynote in the Mexico City for their event that they had, USA Today, Entrepreneur Vice, all the other fun stuff. And then I write for, as we talked about, Inc., Forbes, Huffington Post, Social Media Examiner. And that's actually an old slide. I write for about 120 different websites. I've got a 31-person team, so it's not like I just write for 120 sites. I've got a team now all over the world, actually, at work remotely. Here goes the other thing. So you guys might have heard of Kim Kardashian. Whether that's good or bad, you be the judge. Gary Vaynerchuk, obviously Richard Elderman, and then obviously myself. So I was really excited and honored to be added to that list. So let's talk about some influencer marketing. So in the U.S., we had a thing, and I think it was probably here as well. It's called Tupperware, right? So this was probably back in probably the 50s. And the idea of a Tupperware party is that you would have somebody like Helen, right? So Helen was the one that was in the community. Everybody, she had beautiful little kids, and she was always perfect, and she worked out. And everybody wanted to be like Helen, right? So what she would do is she'd have these Tupperware parties. And so she'd have these parties, and everybody would come in, and Helen would make a percentage of all the sales, and she would push sales. And the idea of this is, in Tupperware and other things, what they do is they say, what you want to do is invite your friends and your family because you have the most influence over those people, right? So there we go. So Helen would go make a percentage of the sales, and all the moms would love her. And now we have influencer marketing in 2018. So Beats by Dre was probably one of the originators to do this. You would see all of the athletes. Not only would they do paid campaigns, but they would also give free headphones to athletes. And so you'd see athletes coming off buses, and they would have the big headphones, or musicians. And so what they would do is they'd hand this out. And of course, it's nice to have a backing of Beats or Dre and some other celebrities and stuff. So they would hand these out for free, and then they would wear them, and they would all be done through social media, and you'd see these products that were out there. And so it just really, really took off. So if we look at Tupperware today in 2017, these are the numbers. They made $2.26 billion worth of sales, and they have about 3.2 million consultants. And the reason why I'm telling you about this is there's a small percentage of the consultants that probably make a good amount of money off of Tupperware. But the idea is this, is once again, they talk about making it your sphere of influence, right? Like, who do you have influence over? And it's usually your family and friends. So these type of deals, you buy some kind of a package they put together, and then you guys are going to go and then you're going to go and, once again, go and buy the products. Beats by Dre was sold to Apple for about $3 billion. I mean, I could probably survive off $3 billion, I think, if I sold my company for that. So things are good there. And so we know that through the brands, the influencers, we know that the stories that they put together obviously can be beneficial. I mean, you guys are the epitome of that, right? We're talking about Sri Lanka as a country because you guys invested, because Cinnamon and everybody, all the sponsors invested in a blogger 2 or 3 years ago, and now you guys are #1 this year. So once again, it shows that you guys were ahead of the curve when it came to influencer marketing. And I've been all over the world, and I have to say that I don't see too many countries that made that kind of early investment to pay off later on in the future. So kudos to you guys for that. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what is influencer marketing. So influencer marketing is the process of promoting products and services through influential individuals such as bloggers, journalists, industry experts, and celebrities. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Instagram because that's how I got into influencer marketing. So Instagram today has about 1 billion active users, and then 6 or 10 of the adults have Instagram accounts. And about 70% of those users look up some kind of a brand on Instagram, and then about 78% of those influencers prefer Instagram for brand collaborations. And there was another fact that they said that in your lifetime that you're going to spend at least 8 months on Instagram over your time. So obviously you have some eyeballs there. So how did I get into influencer marketing? This is actually Zoe Rodriguez. She was how I got into the space. She reached out to me and says, hey, I need some help with social media, and can you help me? And I said, yeah, let me see what we got going on. But she said that she was in the fitness space. And when the lead came in off my website, I thought, oh man, fitness space. I just don't know if I want to get in the fitness space, but I was like, all right, I'll talk to her and stuff. So what was interesting about Zoe is that she sells fitness ebooks. And so what it is, it's a product that once you develop the product, then there's really no cost for the most part, right? Because you have that upfront cost, and now it's all revenue. 98% of her business was done through Instagram, and she was a brand, but she was also an influencer. So her company is called Z-Body Fitness, and she would sell these ebooks and then eventually apparel, and we did, we went on different country or different cities and stuff, and we did these little events and stuff. But she's also an influencer, so I was managing everything. So I would see her as a brand, and then I would see we would pitch influencers about her product, but then she would also be pitched from brands about the stuff that she did, so like the teeth whitening and all the stuff you see on Instagram in the early days. So this is what was really intriguing to me when I talked to Zoe. Kind of blew me away. So I'm on the phone with her. She's 22 years old at this time. And I said, Zoe, kind of tell me about what you got going on, And at this time, this is what's funny. So I had an ebook that I had on my website. And this is a free ebook, right? Like I literally couldn't get people to give me an email address. So I'm thinking, how is she selling anything online if people won't even download my ebook, right? So she's like, well, I've been doing this for so long, about a year and a half. And at this point, she had 3 different programs. And so one was called Build a Better Booty. So I don't think I need to go into heavy detail of what that entails. But I think you guys get it from here. But we have sexy legs and we have sexy arms, right? So I said, so what is your best seller? And she goes, Build a Better Booty is. And I said, okay, that sounds good. And I said, well, how many are you selling? And she goes, well, I'm only doing I've only sold 10,000. And I'm like, is that it? Like, what are you doing? You taking days off or something? Like, that's terrible, you know? But I didn't say that, but I'm just thinking in my head, times $20, and that's $200,000, right? This girl's 22 years old. So I said, okay. I said, well, what about sexy legs? And she goes, like maybe 5,000. I don't know. I don't know the exact numbers. So, and then what about sexy arms? Same, maybe 5,000. And so I'm looking at this girl's 22 years old. She's making $400,000 off of fitness ebooks. And she, in her mind, thinks that she's failing, right? And for me, once again, I can't get somebody to download a free ebook. Like, I am failing, like literally, but I got to pull her as a client. So I'm like, oh yeah, no, people love my ebooks, So it's just one of those deals. And so what we proposed to Zoe was, because everything was done by her, so it was good, and she had a great audience, but we needed to tighten some stuff up. So we did a new logo, new website, new ebooks, new customer service. We bundled programs. We revamped everything that she had going, because I knew that if she by herself could make $400,000, that we could get her up to great numbers. So I'm going to give you guys 1 year later. This is what we're able to do with my team. We're able to get her up to her sales of $1.6 million. Once again, she's 23 years old at this point. Her only expenses, and this is what kills me. So if you have any kind of a brick and mortar location or something, or equipment and all this fun stuff, the only marketing expenses she had was like a gym membership, like $65, and us. Like, that was it. Like, that was all of her overhead costs. Like, right? So and she's like, God, I'm just trying to get the numbers down. I'm like, in regards to expenses, and I'm like, well, I'm not lowering my numbers, so you got to talk to the gym, because we're not, try to get for 64 or 63 or something, but we're not budging. So we spent about $300,000 on influencer marketing. So that was all going through influencers and talking to them and negotiating deals. Now, let me remind you guys, this is before software. So there really was no software to go and go find the influencers. We manually went and looked it all up. And I use these things called Excel spreadsheets. And I know some of you, the younger generations, are gonna be like, what the hell is an Excel spreadsheet? An Excel spreadsheet is something where you put in numbers and numbers come out. I'll explain that later. But the software side of things is where things became very interesting, because obviously now you can go through and you can put in things, and you can kind of take a look at people and filter down people. But anyways, $300,000 on influencer marketing. We spent that in about 4 or 5 months, learned a lot. It was a little bit different back then, because it was like we'd do posts, not temporary posts, and then we'd have international people. So it's like if they would only post for 24 hours, what time were they posting? There was a lot of variables to it. Once again, not a lot of software other than, I would have to look at stuff, and we would interview influencers. It was pretty interesting. At that point, we were turning our marketing dollars. For every $1 we spent, we were making $4. Now, which is awesome, right? Because that's a great stat to have. My issue as a marketer is I didn't know which influencer was moving the needle for me, right? So if I hired 10 influencers and they all post the same day, I don't know who's moving the needle, right? So that's an issue for me, because I would much rather take the money from these 8 influencers and move it into the people that are moving the needle. So that was an issue for me, but once again, the numbers were still there. And then when our average transactional value went from $20 to $35, and that was because we bundled the products together. So how do we increase sales? So it was obviously a brand new e-commerce website. We bundled the packages, and we did influencer marketing. So what do we do on the website? So we optimized the site for conversions. Before, it was just very informational. So now what we did is we added call to actions. She had an ebook that she did, was a protein treats and sweets. And what we did is we actually made it so that it was free. Originally it was $7. Now what we wanted to do is be able to pull people in through the newsletter, and then we would do what we call behavioral marketing through email, and we would send them, and if you bought this product, and then we get this email. If they bought these 3 products, and we would give them a sale on these ones. It was all behavioral, so whatever you click on, we're like watching you pretty much. It's super awkward when I say it on stage like that. But so when we increased the newsletter subscribers, and because we offered the free ebook, and this was the old picture of what her old ebooks used to look like. So it was like this kind of cartoon character. We obviously put her on the front and redid that. But the old prices for the ebooks, usually if you wanted to buy all 5 of them, it was going to be $100. You'd have to buy 20, 20, 20, 20, and 20. So the benefit of this is it's an ebook, right? So once you've already designed it, what's already created, then you don't have to, there's no other costs. So I'm like, okay, so why don't we do something where we bundle it? So we would bundle it for $49.95, offer all of them, because what we found was a lot of the times when people go and buy the product, if they don't use it right away, they're not going to buy any other products after that, because they've lost momentum. And the only time when they get momentum back is what? Like around the first of the year, right? Or it's summertime, like, oh, I got to get my bikini, you got to hurry, you got to go buy some ebooks. And so we'd be there for you, right? So you can buy those. But so in this situation, so we said is like, listen, if somebody's motivated, what we really want to do is get them to purchase all those ebooks in the beginning. And so that's what we did. And so that's how we got our transaction value from $20 to $35. So how do we find the right influencers for Zoe's campaign? So influencer marketing tools, there wasn't a lot of them available, as I talked about. Manual searching on Instagram. And so we would obviously look through hashtags. There was like Econosquare was one that we would use, but there wasn't a lot. Now there's 10, 15, 20 different softwares. And then we would do personalized outreach, we'll talk about it. And then I did all the negotiations with everybody. So like I said, that Excel spreadsheet, I'd have like arrows and highlight this and highlight that. I do have a funny story for you. So this was during Christmas time, and it was a busy time for us, right? And so I'm at the table with my whole family, we're eating, and I'm on my phone, right? But I'm trying to play it off because Grandma's looking at me and judging me, but I'm like doing this because I'm negotiating. It's January, right? It's go time. And I went to the bathroom like 39 times or something, like just so I could go get some stuff done and came back. Well, Grandma caught me and I got in trouble, but because the thing is I have to like negotiate with everybody. And I had 20, 30, at one point I had probably 150 influencers that I was working with all through Excel spreadsheets. And the problem is if I say, hey, we're $500, you're $250, you're $700, you're $10,000, you're $300, and I got to remember who's who, and so I've got to document everything, right? And that's where the Excel spreadsheet came in. So why did influencer campaigns, what do they look like, right? So with Zoe, we obviously did a lot of this, different types of things. We tried SEO, we tried all kinds of stuff. Influencer marketing was hands down what worked for her. And what we would do is for fitness space was before and after pictures, right? Because everybody says, oh my gosh, this is Zoe, 2 years ago, and what's that to me today? And then now I want to be Zoe today, right, where she's doing this thing, where she's looking, great, right? So what we did is we went through the fitness and lifestyle, and then we did a pay-per-post. So, you can do affiliate things. I'll go in that a little bit here in a little bit of some different options that you can do, but we did pay-per-post. So you have no idea, like, how many pictures I had to go through to find you some somewhat decent pictures that don't just show booties. Like, I'm not kidding you. Like, I have hundreds and thousands of them. These were like the ones that I could actually bring to a conference where you guys wouldn't be totally offended as a whole country. So this is Zoe, and this is not Photoshop. I know you guys are thinking this, but literally, this is what I call her inner J-Lo, if you know Jennifer Lopez. Like she, working out, things are good, and then, hey, 2 years, like, hey, things, went crazy. And here goes some other people. And so what we did, one of the things we did in the ebooks is we told them, hey, make sure you take before pictures, right? Because you want something to compare yourself to. And so that's what these girls did. And I know you look at these and you think they're photoshopped, because when I originally talked with Zoe and we went through this whole thing, I honestly thought that when she was talking about the money that she was making in the pictures, I thought people were photoshopping them. I thought they just have to be. And what's crazy about fitness is there's nothing really new in fitness. Like, let's put it this way. If I was to do 30 push-ups a day for 6 months, I'd probably have some pecs, right? I don't, obviously, so I don't have pecs because I eat food, right? We already talked about that. So that's my superpowers. I eat a lot of food. So the thing is, same thing with fitness. So these programs were very simple in what they were offering, but we also built a community around that, right? We did like Facebook groups, and we did all this stuff to like support the girls in their journey. I will tell you another funny fact is I was an admin on the group. It was an all-female group, right? And I had to be the admin because I started it. I couldn't even get on Instagram because we don't need to go into heavy detail, the pictures that the girls would post back and forth. But like my poor wife, I'm looking, she goes, what are you looking at? I'm like, just booties. I mean, that's all it is. Like, just scroll through the whole damn thing. I mean, there was nothing I could do. It was just all day. And so I'm very jaded to booty. I mean, that's a long story, but anyways. So why did it work? So the reason why it worked with Zoe and her campaigns is because it was female-centric audience. So on Instagram, whenever she would post something, once again, very supportive community, and if you would have a guy or somebody weird that would say something like, oh, you're this or you're that, the whole group would like blast them, and then they would like block them, and they like put them on blacklists and stuff. I mean, it was pretty crazy. Like, they were a very supportive group, and she had a very highly engaged audience. So when people would reply and ask Zoe questions, she would always respond to them, which is really important on the engagement side of thing. And then social proof, right? So on the website, we had all the before and after pictures of all the girls that have done the program and testimonials and stuff. And so that was really big. And then obviously her story because Zoe was a runner, so that's the reason why she didn't have I'm going to say once again, big booty. But then after 2 years later, she really started working out, and then she was able to get those pictures. And so that's why everybody liked it. So current day, so now I could talk about not having software. The platforms that I use for measuring influencer, like the ROI, there's a lot of them out there. Grin is one that I work with. We're heavily vested in Grin. We've done a lot of stuff with those guys over there. Awesome group. They're doing some really, really cool stuff. Hyper is another one out of New York. And then Tracker is another one that we've worked with. Once again, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of different ways that you can use softwares for different things. Some of them are, another one is Group High, that if you're looking for bloggers in a certain type of niche. So that's really cool. So once again, for us, when we put together campaigns, it just depends on what you're looking to do. Some of them are really heavy on YouTube. Some of them are heavy on Instagram. But those are some good ones. Types of influencer marketing campaigns that work well for e-commerce. So there's a lot of different ways to do it these days, right? And once again, I know this is pretty heavy on Instagram. So after this, if you guys want to talk about some of the other platforms, we can talk about that as well. Is discount codes. So you see it on Instagram where somebody says, hey, if you use the code Jennifer25, then you get 25% off whatever, this bouquet of flowers, or whatever that is. Or this was Daniel Wellington, which is a watch company. So what they did, and Daniel Wellington, actually, that's how they built their whole business, was through influencer marketing. Like, if you look them up online, they're millions and millions and millions of dollars, all done through influencer marketing, because they were early on to send, to send the watches out there, and then obviously have people promote them. So discount codes is one way. So affiliate marketing. So affiliate marketing is strictly giving a unique code to an influencer so that somebody can go on and click on it so that you can attribute that sale to that influencer. There's a lot of really interesting ways to do that. This is very basic in the sense that, there was a relationship and she said, hey, link in bio, something like that. Instagram's done some really cool stuff where, the only issue with Instagram is there's only one place for a link, right, for a URL. So the problem with that is that if you have multiple brands that you promote, how do you promote all of them, right, equally? So it's like, hey, if I'm with Ford and I'm with a whiskey company, an apparel company, like who do I put in that special spot? Because it's a valuable area. There's things like Linktree, and there's some other ones that what you can do is you can put that link in there, and when you click on it, it'll take you to a page, and it can have all your sponsors up there, right? So obviously, so you'll have the, Fords, or you'll have whatever, the Sri Lankan Airlines, or whatever there, so you can see that, and they can click on their affiliate links. So it's kind of a little tidbit. Some people are using it, some people aren't. Competitions and giveaways. So who doesn't love a good giveaway, right? So you usually see a lot of engagement when you talk about different things you're giving away, and people love that. So you'll partner with a brand, or you partner with somebody and talk about, hey, we're going to do this giveaway, and these are the 5 things that we need you to do, right? So we want you to tag this, we want you to do this, we want you to do this, and then you go and take a picture, and you see some good engagement there because the brand will promote it, and then obviously you as an influencer will promote it as well. So long-term ambassador roles. This is something that a switch in the industry that needs to happen. There's a lot of influencers and brands working together for short periods of time. You really want to have a longer-term relationship with an influencer. You want to build that deeper relationship with bloggers, or when I say influencers, I mean bloggers. I mean everybody is included in that. And this was just one that Shiley, she's an ambassador for a different dance program that they've got. But once again, you really want to look at that longer-term relationship, because if you're an influencer, you really don't want to go and work with, if I worked for Adidas this week, and then I work for Nike this week, and then I work for K-Swiss this week, and people are like, I feel like you don't maybe really like any of those products, that you're just doing this for money, right? And it starts to look weird. You start to lose your audience. So you really want to keep it authentic in the sense that you try to develop those longer relationships with brands. And it's also great for you as an influencer or blogger or whatever, because then you also get monthly money, right? You want to develop those deeper ties. If not, you don't want to have to hustle each month to try to find that next relationship or try to find that next brand to work with. So if it's a good fit for you as an influencer, and they're open to it, then you should absolutely look at a deeper relationship. So we have influencer takeovers. So that's going to be where an influencer actually will take over a profile like Coach or whatever that is, right? So you have any of these brands, and they'll say, hey, I'm going to take this over. And once again, it's that cross promotion where the influencer will talk about it all the way up until the event. They actually take over the profile, and then you have, something like this where everything's perfect and the outfit's perfect, and you have like little pink dogs and everything, eating whatever, all the exotic foods. And then there you go, and that's what you've got. So this one is the conscious strategy or gifting, right? So that was, the Beats by Dre was obviously big with that, where you would see that they were handing those things out. So it's one of the things that you have to realize, and I'm telling you guys, if you're a brand, is not every, so this is what's funny. So when you're working with influencers, you're working with bloggers, you're working with this, gifting can be an awesome thing, but you have to realize that every influencer has their own business. So I have people that will say, well, what kind of influencers will just take like free product? I don't know. There's millions of them, right? So I mean, really, it comes down to a negotiation with each one of them. So it's something that you can, as a brand, if you're going to somebody, you're going out to an influencer and they have this most epic content, right? And you go to them and you say, hey, you know what? I love your content, and I've got a $10 t-shirt that I'm going to give you for free, my friend, right? And you're like, I've got a video team, I've got equipment, I've got, it costs me $1,000 a day, whatever the number is, $500 a day to produce content, and you're offering me a free $10 t-shirt, right? So you have to kind of think about that. And that's when I'll talk about this later at one of the other speaking thing I'm doing today here for the bloggers in regards to staying relevant with commercial brands. But you want to make sure that when you're putting those emails out to those influencers or the bloggers or whoever, that you customize them, because it's also important not just to send out blanketed emails to everybody. So Chanel did this. Obviously, this is a great way where you can do some kind of a product launch where you say, hey, we're going to launch this new product. It can either be online all over the world. It can be in a certain location, right? So if you have you're a yoga instructor or something, you have a yoga product, and here it has to be in Los Angeles, and you're promoting something that's going on there. It can also be events as well, right? So there's a lot of different ways to do that. So the takeaways I'm going to give you guys today, and I'm going to touch on the influencer side of things. It is extremely important. There's been some things in the industry where people talk about influencer marketing. And like anything, influencer marketing is not like just absolute magic. Like you go do one campaign, you make millions of dollars, right? The idea of it is that you have to do it the right way. And there's an education side of it. For myself, because of the course that I've created at UCLA, we're looking at educating people. We want to educate brands and influencers on how they can work together better, right? Because the idea is then you're going to have better campaigns. Influencer marketing is no different than like pay-per-click, no different than SEO. If you go do SEO and you're going after the wrong keywords, it's not going to work, right? You're doing PPC, but you're going after the wrong target audience, not going to work, right? So influencer marketing is the same thing. It's really important to quit looking at the numbers of an influencer, like how many followers they have, and look at the quality of their content, look at their engagement, look at other things, because you get mesmerized, right? You're like, oh, I have 1 million followers. Like, oh my God, how much are we gonna sell? Yay! And then the campaign, you do it one time and it goes live, and you're like, oh, nobody came to the site, right? The problem with that is because you're looking at numbers, and you have to look at the demographic of the influencers, right? And just because they have high numbers, that doesn't always mean good things. In fact, what we've seen, we know this, is that if you have a high amount of followers, a really high amount, the engagement rate is a lot lower. And let me explain why that is. So I'll give you guys an analogy. So let's say I'm a restaurant, and I open up this really, really nice restaurant, right? And I go invite everybody to come. And let's say I have 200 people that come through in 4 hours. And so I'll do what I call shake hands and kiss babies, right? Hey, thank you for coming to my restaurant. Kiss little baby. Hey, thank you, right? So I want to go talk to everybody and say, hey, thank you for coming. So at that point, I can hit all 200 people, right, in a 4-hour period. I think that I would be able to go to all the tables and tell them thank you for coming. So let me give you another scenario. So now I open the restaurant, same restaurant, right, different scenario, but now I have 10,000 people that come through, right? And do you think I'm going to be able to talk to everybody in that 4-hour period? I can't, right? Because I'm trying to get around to everybody. The people coming in the restaurant are going to be comments, right? So think about this. Kim Kardashian, I'm going to use her as an example because unfortunately, everybody knows her. You've got a situation, she puts something up there, she gets 10,000 comments. She's not going to be able to respond to everybody, right? Because she would spend 2, 3 days, 5 days doing that. Doesn't make sense. So her engagement's going to be a lot lower, right? Because she's not able to do that. She's the restaurant with 10,000 people walking in that door. The people that have, I say, a smaller following, because they're not Kim Kardashian, let's say you have 10, 15, 20, you have to think about those people are going to have a higher, or they should have a higher engagement rate, because if people are asking you questions like, oh my God, that was amazing, where did you guys go to that temple? Or, hey Shane, tell me about your 19th plate of food that you had and the other 3 desserts that you had that night, or whatever. Not really that much, but it was close. Just one of those nights, But so the idea that you want to be able to have those conversations back and forth. And then we talked about the only one link for Instagram. Use it wisely. Like I said, Linktree, and there's some other ones that I use that becomes interesting, because what you can do is in that link, you can set it up so when they click on it, it goes, there's ways you can do this with e-commerce as well, where you can set up something. So there's a picture, so you have our Instagram, right? We have all the pictures on Instagram, and you click on that link, and it'll take you to a page that looks just like all of you. It has all your pictures on there, and it can have this suit, and what it does is somebody wants to click on my suit, it'll tell them where to buy it, and it's an affiliate code. So you can actually do that through e-commerce. There's some really, really cool stuff that's happening in the e-commerce space, because once again, you can go and post these pictures, and myself as an influencer, anybody as an influencer or blogger can now leave that content up, and now you can go and look through my stuff, and if I'm a fashion person and you like my suits, and you're like, God, I see this suit that Shane wore 2 months ago, and that's really awesome, well, they can click on it and go get that, and I make some kind of commission off that. Another thing is just setting up your KPIs. That's key performance indicators, so you know how well your campaign did. So this is an issue in the sense, once again, the analogy I used is, you grab the influencer who's got 1 million followers. You're like, man, this is awesome. I'm going to move to Costa Rica and retire after I sell everything. I'm going to be there and go and live that life that Shane lived the last 4 or 5 days. But the issue is this, is that if you don't talk about that ahead of time, then there's going to be some issues, right? Because you have to figure out what your goals are, right? You have to figure out the expectation. So myself as a brand with the person with 1 million followers, or the influencer had 1 million followers, my expectation was I was just going to sell $1 million in clothing or whatever, right? I was super excited about it. But we didn't talk about that. And the influencer's like, hey, they're paying me. This is awesome, right? We got to talk about that and say, what are your expectations? Well, I'm assuming after that one post that I'm going to sell $1 million in clothes, and the influencer should go, huh? No. What do you mean? 1 million? No, maybe 1,000. Like, you have to talk about this. You have to figure out, like, what are the goals and what are the KPIs. That's where there's a little bit of a disconnect in the industry, and that's where the education side of this is coming in for us. So that's me. This is my information. You guys can get a hold of me if you have any questions about influencer marketing, e-commerce. I might have some good news here. I might be coming back to Sri Lanka. I can't tell you all about it yet, but I might have some big news here soon. Any reason to come back? I'm like, literally any reason. So let me know if you guys want to invite me. I'll come back like anytime. I have an influencer ebook if you guys want to take a look at that. I developed it about 2 years ago. It still has some really great information. We're working on a new one. So if you guys want some general information about influencer marketing, how we did it with Zoe, and it'll show all the fun stuff, the Excel spreadsheets that I use and everything like that. So do we have, I think we have a system where you guys have some questions. Are we doing that oh, I like that. I guess that means at the end. Awesome. So I guess I'm done. You guys, thank you guys so much for your time.